Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Kate Bulkley. I'm an independent journalist based in the UK, and I'm delighted to introduce our media mastermind keynote speaker for this afternoon, Nicola Mendelsohn. Nicola Mendelsohn is the vice president of Facebook EMEA. She will give a short presentation, and then I'll ask her a few questions, and I'm really looking forward to it. And by the way, this is her first MIPCOM, so we'll see what she thinks. Nicola has spent the majority of her career in the advertising business, working for big agencies including BBH and Karma Rama. She is a high-profile figure in the British advertising sector, having served as the president of the advertising industry trade group there, the IPA. Nicola is an outspoken and high-profile advocate of the importance of the creative industries to the economy. In the UK, she serves as co-chair of the Creative Industries Council and launched its vision and strategy, which looks out to 2020. And I know that among her priorities is inspiring and empowering the next generation of content creators and producers. A little over 2 years ago, Nicola joined Facebook, in June 2013, in fact, as head of the company's business across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. That's quite a wide remit. She joined Facebook at a time when the company began a concerted push to increase revenues from advertisers. And she is focused on developing solutions for Facebook partners and on strengthening relationships with the marketing and advertising communities, and as well, developing resources for some of the fastest growing markets in her regions. Nicola is an avid film and television fan. She named her meeting room at Facebook, believe it or not, after the Bond film Skyfall. We have to tell her about the new Bond film. Maybe she'll name it Spectre. And she tells me that after binge viewing all 5 seasons of The Walking Dead only this past summer with her children, that she is now a big fan of zombies. So, on that note, would you please join me in giving a warm welcome to Nicola Mendelsohn.
Just over 30 years ago, MIPCOM was born, and I want to take us back to 1985. Just remember that period in time. Now, for those of you that weren't born yet, please spare the rest of us our quiet humiliation. So what was happening in 1985? Well, I was just starting secondary school, but these were the things that were really going on in the world of entertainment. The format wars were kicking off. VHS hadn't yet seen off Betamax. Live Aid played out to 1.5 billion people across 150 countries. The Cosby Show was the biggest show in the US, playing to 29 million households. And the big breakthrough innovation for video on demand was seen in the likes of Blockbuster. And if I'm honest, I had a bit of a schoolgirl crush on Michael J. Fox, who played Marty McFly in the biggest movie of the year, Back to the Future. And that's where I want to take us back to, because October is the Back to the Future time that they dreamed about oh so long ago. And I think if we remember the predictions that we made, we probably laugh quite a lot as to what they thought about. But actually, so much has changed, far different from what the doc predicted. And actually, the biggest change that we've seen is really in the media landscape. Because what we're seeing now is that time spent online is eclipsing time spent on television. And yet we live in a golden age of TV. And at Facebook and Instagram, we are so proud to partner with so many great producers and contents of movies and films all over the world. And we see every day how they're using our platforms to launch their content. And really what's interesting here is that all of this was really unthinkable even just 3 years ago. And I think it's worth just taking a step back and looking at some recent history to understand why we've seen such a fundamental shift in such a short period of time. It starts with your phone. It took television 67 years to reach 1 billion people. The smartphone did it in just 5. These little devices that we hold in our hands have 100,000 times the computing power that took man to the moon. Now, that is just crazy. But if you think about it and you look at your phone, there are some changes that we've seen. Think about the first phone that you ever had. It was probably a brick about this big. And then the phone started to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And we had those sort of clamshell type phone devices. And at that time, Apple famously said that they would never make a big phone. But that's not what people wanted. People wanted their phones to get bigger because it was such an amazing creative canvas to explore and look at video and to look at imagery. And so the phones have got gradually bigger. And alongside the rise of mobile, what we see today is a rise from text to visual-based communications. And Instagram really was built for this visual mobile world. It's just 5 years old. It had its birthday yesterday. And today on Instagram, there are now 400 million people coming back every single month. And 3/4 of those are coming from outside of the US. They're coming to follow their passions. They're coming to be inspired and discover new things. And we're thrilled that we're working with partners like Sky and 20th Century Fox and Amazon and Netflix, who are coming to Instagram to really launch and celebrate their shows and their new programs. And alongside our birthday yesterday, last week we announced that Instagram was now open for advertising globally. And what we can do on Facebook, we can now do on Instagram as well. So you can target your content exactly at the people that matter to you. And you can do this now on the fastest growing, most visual, most mobile of platforms. And that can be imagery and that can be video as well. And what we're seeing is that video is exploding. Cisco predicts that by 2019, video will account for 80% of global data traffic. Now, this is a huge number. And we're seeing this right firsthand at Facebook as well. What we see on Facebook today is there are now over 4 billion video views every single day. 75% of those are on mobile. And we're seeing that people, you know this better than anyone, video has always been the most engaging and the best way for people to enjoy content. And we're committed to being great broadcast partners for all of you. And what I wanted to spend the rest of the presentation and the conversation talking about is how together we can come together and really hope that we can meet this challenge of perpetual change together. And even though we're in Cannes and today is very, very sunny, I can't help but get excited about the fact that winter is coming. And one of my favorite shows will be back just after the winter period. But if I look back on last winter, at February, we had a conversation with the Sky Atlantic team about the premiere of Game of Thrones 5. They were doing the premiere with HBO at the Tower of London. And I don't know if you've been to the Tower of London, but you could not get a better venue than the Tower of London. And so we wanted to work with them, be able to make this the best launch of a program that they'd ever done. So the first thing that we did was to look at the targeting. What we knew from looking at Facebook data, in the UK, we had 2.2 million people that were enthusiastic about Game of Thrones, and I am definitely one of them. But we weren't satisfied with that as an audience. We wanted to expand that audience. And so we took in other shows that we thought where people would have similar interests. Shows like The Walking Dead, and yes, I am a fan of that, as Kate was telling you, and I do want to be a zombie at some point as well, just so you know. We also looked at shows like Lord of the Rings, and by building up this audience, we could extend the audience, or if you like, we call this a lookalike audience, to make the audience size 8.3 million people. On the night of launch, we worked with the cast to make sure that we could create unique content. And we took a number of different cast members and we put them on the Iron Throne. And the challenge that we said to them was, who's the character that you're most scared of? Who's the one that you fear the most? And these are some of the images that were released on different days on Instagram. The other thing that we did on the night of the launch as well was to do live Q&A with a number of the stars also. And the stars were being asked questions from all over the world, people asking them various different questions. And here's the lady that plays Sansa Stark. The results we saw were truly extraordinary. Nielsen told us that the ad recall for this was 3 times the global average. And it drew a massive audience to the premiere, but also beyond as well. And our clients at Sky Atlantic told us that it was the most successful launch that they had ever done on Sky Atlantic, and the biggest finale that they had ever had as well. And what I find exciting about this is not just the amazing results, which I love, but also the fact that this couldn't have happened even 2 years ago. So where we are today and what we see is that Facebook and TV are really our happy bedfellows. We see that Facebook usage peaks at exactly the same time that TV viewing peaks in every country in the world. People jump onto Facebook to comment on what they're seeing, especially on live television. And our maximum daily audience are your maximum daily audiences as well. And Millward Brown tells us that 85% of people who are on social media are on Facebook, and they're the ones that are on during live TV broadcasts. And so knowing this information and working with so many of you, we wanted to make it easier for broadcasters to be able to integrate with Facebook, especially during live TV moments. And we saw from people as well, they want to go deeper with the programs also. And that's why we are so excited to have launched 4 new tools, especially for broadcasters, that we just launched yesterday. So let me take a canter through what those 4 areas are. The first is on live programming. And this is about hashtag voting and polling as well. And this really allows fans to help to come out with the outcomes of decisions. Think about shows like American Idol, Britain's Got Talent, X Factor. These are the shows where you can vote. And what we're allowing people to be able to do now is to cast their vote on Facebook and to then really then have it in a post or a comment that the producers that can then take, because they've already ascribed what their hashtag will be. And this will therefore allow, by creating this hashtag voting API, the producers to be able to curate and put up the content as quickly as possible. And Telescope, who, as you know, are one of the world's biggest users of voting shows, they've been our first partners to try this with us. But perhaps you might want a different solution for audiences who may be polling where you can't change the outcome, but maybe want to have a point of view about what's going on. So one of the things that we've looked at here is something we're calling native polling. And an example of this is with Pac-12, for all you American college football fans, where they've set up a page on a Saturday when they have the games, where you can have different polls with a range of different options. Now, the great thing here is you don't even have to go to the page. It can just come up in your news feed, and then you can interact and may have an influence on the poll as well. But if I'm honest, things like voting and polling, they're quite lightweight options, and we see that people really want to get deeper and more immersive in this different area about audience participation. And so we wanted to find a way for broadcasters to be able to solicit questions or opinions from people, perhaps through videos or photos. So we're launching something called Video and Photo Submission. And it was really recently just used in the GOP debate on Fox. Producers used it for allow people to ask questions, and people sent in over 40,000 video questions. And this isn't just something to be asking Donald Trump questions. Think about how you might use it to maybe send in audition features or funny poses for a Saturday night television program. Our imaginations are the only things that limit us here. So there's lots of different ways that we can use this. But then with 40,000 submissions, what are we going to do with all that other content? Well, this is where we're bringing in the Facebook video gallery. So producers can work out how they can curate this content in different ways. And here's an example from HBO, from their Project Greenlight, which shows a much broader range of the content submitted than they could ever show on air. So parallel with all the integration that we're seeing here, we're really seeing it, as I said earlier, an explosion of video on the platform. And what we wanted to do was to go even deeper onto this as well. And there's just the video playing there. So you told us how much you valued Newsfeed as a way to distribute video and as a form of discovery for people. And people just love to discover video on Facebook. And so enable people to discover more videos that they might be interested on Facebook. We've been testing something we're calling a suggested videos experience. Now, I'm caveating this to say it's very, very early days, but I wanted to share what the experience looks like as it is now. So what it is, if people are looking for something on video, that say something comes up here maybe from BuzzFeed about food, we might then show them up a video of further things that are around food interests that can then scroll down in their own video feed about news. They can click on those different cooking videos and they can experience different things as well. And so we'll show them additional video suggestions because we know how much people like to explore and discover video on Facebook. Now, as I said, it's really early days. We only just launched this at the beginning of the summer, but we're seeing really encouraging results because it plays to what we see that people are enjoying, which is to find and discover things that excite them. And our ultimate goal is that people will find the best, most relevant video content for them. And with 1.5 billion people coming onto Facebook every single month, we want to make sure that all of them are having a really exciting and vibrant experience. But as technology is increasing and inventing even further new things, we shouldn't be satisfied even just with 2 forms of dimension of television, which is why we just recently released something that we're calling 360 videos. And this is where viewers can scroll around and see different formats and perspectives and getting, again, much more immersive into the films that we see. Have a look here at this clip from Star Wars. And the white circle, imagine, is your finger that is scrolling around. So it takes you in, and in this scene here, you can explore different parts of the desert as you look around. And we're excited to have launched this with a number of different partners here. So not only Star Wars, but Discovery Networks as well, GoPro, LeBron James, Saturday Night Live, and also Vice were our very first partners, putting 360 immersive video onto the Facebook platform. And so we are committed. We've put some of our very, very best engineering teams onto working about developing and building out future of Facebook on video. But the innovation also is not just what you're going to see in front of the screen. It's also about what's going on behind the screen as well. And so we're committed to creating a comprehensive rights management systems that are going to continue to roll out new types of tools as well that will really help publishers grow their businesses on Facebook. So actually, we're a little bit more focused on what you don't see than what you do see. Now, at the beginning, I talked about, the world of Back to the Future. And that movie predicted a future that didn't quite happen. I, for one, never got my hoverboard. And I think you should always show some humility when you try and place bets on the future. But here goes anyway. So there's no question that we are absolutely committed to mobile as a dominant platform. But we are placing a bet on Oculus, because we think that the next major shift that we're going to see is really about how people are going to continue to connect and share in different ways. And for us, the bet we're placing is on virtual reality and augmented reality, because we think that's going to rise in importance over the next decade. And we're not the only ones that think this too. We think in the next decade that virtual reality will become the mainstream. And VR has come such a huge way in the last 30 years. And we think the platform is ready for a real major shift. And in part because the devices are so much more comfortable and easy to wear, but also because, of the price points. Gear VR is coming this November. It's going to be accompanied by, as part of, compatible with the Samsung phone, and it's going to ship for $99. I remember talking to one studio boss who said the excitement around this, it's going to be like having an IMAX in your own living room. So we're going to work towards making sure that we have a library of gorgeous, immersive content for people to enjoy. And we're really thrilled to have partnerships with people like 20th Century Fox, Lionsgate, Netflix, Hulu, amongst others. So I hope that gives you an insight into how we see our roadmap going forward. And I thought I would wrap by re-quoting Doc Brown from that wonderful movie, Back to the Future, who ended the film by saying, "Where we're going, we ain't gonna need a road." Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Come over and join me on the chairs. Very interesting stuff. So you're sure about this zombie thing?
Definitely. Okay. I'm hoping Fox are going to take me up on that. So
yeah,
I want to be a zombie.
You're going to get the makeup, the whole
I want it. What do you think? That'll be a good look?
Well, there's a lot to be said for zombies. A lot of the stuff you presented was fascinating. I mean, and these new tools that you've announced, obviously these are things that will, basically allow people who have content to do different and new and better things on Facebook. I mean, I was struck. You said 4 billion views of video on Facebook every day. 4 billion views. I mean, that's a lot. You have created a big, big communications platform. So advertisers obviously love that because they feel that's a way to reach people. You're now got these tools that'll hopefully bring more content in, and you mentioned some of your partners that are looking at different things. Just go 30,000 feet for us to start. Where do you think this is going? I mean, how fast do you think we're going to see video going from your sort of hands-on approach to this? Where do you think it's going, and what's driving it?
Okay, so wherever it's going quicker than any of us imagine. And just to take a step back, if we were having this conversation a year ago, video views would have been 1 billion on Facebook every day.
Yeah.
So in a year, it's gone from 1 billion to 4 billion. And there's been really two key drivers for that. The first was the launch of the autoplay video product that we launched. But actually, the second was something that people might not know, which is the Ice Bucket Challenge. We saw a huge effect. How many people here did the Ice Bucket Challenge? Okay, quite a few. Quite a few did the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was the first time that a lot of people uploaded video onto Facebook. And the speed with which we've seen that progress has just been huge. So more and more people, I mean, half of the people living in the US now watch at least one video on Facebook every day.
So Ice Bucket Challenge, what was the second thing, mobile?
Well, the whole shift to mobile, but also the autoplay video.
Oh, the autoplay video, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's dive a little bit into some of these tools you've just launched, because they're interesting. Live polling, voting functions. I mean, it's great, but I've seen some of these before. Twitter's been doing this as well. What's different about what you guys are doing? Why is it going to be a different kind of tool?
So much of what happens on Facebook is about reflecting what happens in real life. It's a place that people come to connect, to share, to have opinions on. And what we see with things like the voting that we're making is it's what people are doing. They're commenting every single day on Facebook. They're there at the same time as television's going on, having an opinion on this. And so they wanted to get more involved. They wanted to, really be a part of it. And with 85% of social media that's happening, it's happening on Facebook. So we wanted to make it easier for the producers, the broadcasters to come and to be able to take in this as well. And we're seeing now our stats tell us that people today are able to consume 7 hours of content in just 5 hours. So there's an extra 2 hours that people are finding time to be able to do at the same time.
They must be multitasking.
They certainly are.
Multi-video tasking.
Multi-video tasking, you heard it here first.
Now, the suggested video thing I thought was the coolest, because it's sort of like you're seeing something on cookies, and then you think, oh, well, I want to see more on food or desserts or something like that, and you kind of get these videos that are related. I mean, that sounds an awful like a niche channel. I mean, that sounds awful like Food Network or something like that. Are you trying to create channels on Facebook?
What we're trying to do is to make sure that people can discover the things that are most relevant to them. The way that I like to think about how I see Facebook and the news feed is that it's like my own personal newspaper of everything that matters to me and everything that is interesting to me in my life. And I think video is the same. So if we can make it easy for people, if it's food, if it's a celebrity, if it's different types, genres, music, whatever it is, then we should be allowed to help people do that. And that's what this product is all about.
Sounds like the new channel. It sounds like a new way. It's like the reformatted, rebranded channel that we've used in television forever. I mean, it's not a bad idea. But I think it's interesting the way it's evolved. Let's talk a little bit about when you put your content on Facebook. There's a certain amount of worry that, oh my goodness, they've become the publishing platform. They own the customer. They have the direct relationship with the viewer. That worries me as a content provider, broadcaster, producer. What do you say to that?
No, I say that that's not what we do. What we want to do is to be a platform for all of you that have incredible content to get to the people that matter to you. And rather than starting each time by trying to work out who your audience is, you know who the audience is, as the Game of Thrones example showed, that you already have different baskets of audience. You've always pitched shows or movies by saying it's a cross between this and this. That's what this is. Give me the pitch in an elevator.
Right.
We know who the audiences are. Come and find them, and we'll help you.
Okay. This whole idea of gathering content in, and particularly when you start talking about Oculus Rift and VR, do you think you're going to get into the commissioning game? I mean, are you planning on putting money into original content? Remember when YouTube went through this phase where they said, this is great. Come and put your stuff on, and then they thought, we got to start seeding some content. We're not getting the kind of content we like. Are you going to start commissioning thing or put up an originals budget or anything like that?
No. There you go.
It's pretty definitive, Nicola.
No, because what we want is to be able to be a place where the 1.5 billion people find the things that matter to them. You create the things. I said this is a golden age of TV. It's a golden age of cinema. We want to be able to bring those things to people, and you can help us do that.
When you when you look at this as a social platform, I mean, we went through in this industry a huge period where we talked about second screen apps, and everybody was creating second screen apps. You had one for each show, for God's sake. In fact, we got to the point where it was like second screen graveyards, for apps. Are you trying to make Facebook sort of like the preeminent second screen app? In other words, you don't need anything else. You can do it all on Facebook.
No, I think what it's about is really understanding how quickly this shift to mobile is happening. And just thinking about your own behaviors as well. I mean, to be honest, we nearly missed the shift to mobile. When we had our IPO 2.5, 3 years ago, we didn't have any revenues from mobile. We didn't have a mobile product. And it was only by course correcting really significantly that the company was able to adapt. And we made some really big bets at that time, and scary ones. But 3/4 of our revenues now come from mobile. So it's happened, it's past tense, the shift's, it's done.
It's done. 3/4 of your revenue, wow. Let's talk a little bit about where the money goes. Obviously, when people put content on your platform, how does the sharing go? I mean, YouTube has a split. I think the instant articles, which is more text, companies like with publishers like New York Times, it's sort of 70-30. What are you doing in terms of your split for content producers?
So I'm big caveat time to say these are tests. On suggestive videos and instant articles, these are test times, and we're looking and we're exploring. But yeah, on instant articles, first of all, if publishers are putting things on us and they're selling the ads directly, they get 100% of the money. Oh. If they do it with us, then we will, there's a split, and you gave the correct numbers.
So you take 70, they get 30.
Other way around.
Other way, sorry. Yeah. You take 30, they take 70. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We like
then
that.
On the suggestive videos, and again, at the moment, it's such an early test that we're actually not even exchanging money at the moment because we're testing. And it's really important to us to make sure that we test to see, how, is it working for the publisher and the partner? Is it working also for the advertiser? Mm-hmm. And then is it working, most importantly, for the person that's receiving this and seeing how it works? But the intention is that the split will be 55% in favor.
In favor of the content owner?
Yeah.
Good. Let's talk about data for a second. Mm-hmm. Data is like the new black. I mean, everybody's talking about data. It's like we want data, we want to understand our audience better, we need to have access. And Netflix has actually made itself a bit of a pariah in the industry because they don't share data. What's your position on sharing data with your content providers?
So I think we need to be really clear about what this question is. Because first of all, if we take the people that are on Facebook, the data is their data.
Okay.
Cannot be more equivocal about that. They decide who their friends are, who they want to be in touch with, what they want to like, comment, share about. They also can decide if they want to see the advertising or not. And we've made that really simple. Where you might have an advertiser, and I'll come back to Sky, that maybe has created a custom audience around something to do with Game of Thrones, that's their audience. It's done in an anonymized, privacy-safe way, but that's their IP, if you like. They have that. So when it comes to launching Game of Thrones 6, they can go back to that audience and retarget and go again with that audience. And so that's anonymized.
They hold that data, the anonymized data.
It's anonymized. If you imagine Sky has data, we have data, and it's hashed in a third place in order to be privacy safe. That's the thing that matters the most to us, is it's privacy safe.
It's privacy safe. But the idea is that they can actually get access and know how things are working.
Yes, absolutely.
So Sky Atlantic, when they did the Game of Thrones thing, they actually knew what was going on.
Yes.
How many people were doing this, how many people were doing that, when they were doing it.
They can access that through the Insights tool.
All right. Okay. That's really helpful. There's a lot of what you're talking about here is advertiser supported. There's a lot of talk now about ad blocking, what's happening with the new phones, the iPhones. What is your response to that? What do we do about that? I think it was it Sheryl Sandberg? Somebody said, oh, it's all about making better ads. Maybe it was Melissa Meyer. I think it was one of the big Silicon Valley ladies. Said, it's about making better ads. Is that it, or is there something else? Is ad blocking going to be a real problem in this industry, and for you as Facebook?
So ad blocking doesn't affect mobile apps in the same way as it does the rest of the internet. And so technically it's not as big as an issue for us as it is for other people. But actually there is something around that issue the issue is around why people are not happy with their ads. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the complaints that we get from people is, why are the ads not targeted better? If I give you all this information, why do you not make it more relevant for me?
Right.
And so I think that is something that we should be concerned about, that we get the targeting right and we bring the art and the science together to make sure. And my mother would never want to see a zombie program, ever. And we should be able to make that happen now. Whereas I absolutely, as you now are picking up, would like to see more zombie programs.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question, then we're going to wrap up. we talked a little bit about the Oculus, and you know, I mean, it's a big bet that Facebook is making on this, and part of it is it's a little bit of a pet project of Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, obviously he's really into this, and it's got a big footprint in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. Do you really think that there's going to be an appetite for people to wear these goggles and actually be in this immersive environment? I mean, and what kind of time frame?
So I'm just
beyond the real nerds.
Okay, I'm going to look to everyone here. Give me a show of hands who's tried Oculus. One of the
Actually, a lot of hands have gone up.
Quite a lot of people. So, and again, I can't see you properly, but the first time I put it on and tried it, it was a mesmerizing. Go on. So I'm looking for nodding. Was it a mesmerizing experience the first time you tried it? So I'm looking. There are lots of nods going on in the audience.
I had to hold onto the table when I tried it. I thought I was going to fall over.
I thought a Tyrannosaurus Rex was coming to get me, and I think we need to make sure that, you know, the technology is changing so fast and consumers are hungry for whatever the next thing is going to be.
Right.
We think with the changes that have happened in VR from a tech point of view, that so many of the issues that were there before are gone now. And the fact that it will be now affordable, that people will be able to do it, and the fact that content will come, I think it's a great bet on what the future, and I said you've got to be humble and you'll probably, you know, but I think it's a good bet, and lots of people are going in the same direction to say VR is where we're going to kick off, and you know, to think about how you'll bring your content alive on those platforms, you know, I just think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to see what we'll do together.
Great. Thank you so much. Could you please join me in thanking Nicola Mendelsohn, VR and Zombies. Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you.